But back then it was a real thing of, wow, you really have to, the dedication was ultimate. I mean, you really put all your blood, sweat and tears into it. The perseverance, dedication to keep going, keep knocking on doors, and then finally it would crack. And that was the old school of architecture. And for us, we're always looking for the artist as well behind it, as not just the art. And how can we help tell their story and bring them into it? Yeah. There's soulless spaces and people don't even talk to people. If you get it right, wow, to strangers in a lobby or in a bar in a restaurant could just happen to spark up a conversation.
We want to take a moment and thank Halm Collectives, the stunning space that hosts season 2 of the Design Pod.
From its beautifully designed interiors to the energy it brings, Halm truly reflects the creative spirit behind our conversations. We are grateful to be recording in a space that feels so aligned with our vision.
More than just a location, Halm Collective is also a home to a reformer studio, a private boutique gym, and a charming cafe. A full experience built around design, wellness, and community.
Thank you guys from Halm Collective for making this season possible. Hi, Shad.
Hi, Valeria.
How are you? How was your week?
My week was amazing. We closed Pie House. It's now open.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations. It's
you.
a really, really beautiful space.
Thank you so much.
I must say, it's so well designed, really cozy.
Thank you. If you haven't been, guys, you definitely should go.
It's
super. It's amazing food.
Amazing food and beautiful design.
Thank you. I appreciate it. What about your week?
It was very, very relaxing week. Which is needed.
Fantastic.
Much needed.
Fantastic.
We have a very interesting guest today, as usually. Global head of design of Ennismore, Mark Eacott. Welcome, Mark. We've been waiting for you for a long time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Great to be here. Thank you.
And we'd like to dive in right away. What brought you into design? How did it all start?
Yeah, good question. I think my grandfather was an artist. So, we were, my parents used to run a shop. So we were spending a lot of times hanging out with my grandfather. And I just would pick up the pen and draw and paint with him lots of times. So there was a childhood inspiration, I think, from this. And look, where I grew up in southeast London, in Kent, which is these amazing country homes, William Morris, all these great decoration, wallpaper designs. Yeah. You go into these amazing gardens and country homes, and the interiors were so splendid, so opulent. So I think that's how it all came together, and I'm really inspired, yeah.
Amazing.
You've been traveling around the world. We spoke a little bit before the camera started to roll, but I mean, you've links with Shanghai, with LA, with New York, you name it, London. How has all of these places shaped you as a designer? And is there something that you have learned from the different places you've been to?
Yeah, I mean. And my wife keeps reminding me, we moved house like every 2 years for a while. And not just the design, but also those business nuances. I just came back from Bali, Southeast Asia. We were doing meetings there, and you have to change that mindset. Doing business in each of these different locations, from America, Europe, Middle East, and then to Asia. There's slight nuances of the etiquettes and, how you talk about yourself, how you underplay yourself. And it's a switching of mind before you go into a meeting. And that's where it's really key.
What does that mean, under playing yourself?
Yeah, so, I think sometimes, in the US, it's like fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
You over-talk it.
Yeah.
Here or in Europe, I think you let your credentials talk for themselves. You're a little bit more refrained or restrained. Mm-hmm. And then, we're in Jakarta, and they were like, no, just go in, talk. We've brought you in. You're the global head of it. Really talk it up. And so you're like, okay, I remember here. And just all the courtesy things of the soft stuff go around all the meetings, which all the development guys at Ennismore and around the world are so good at. And just kind of follow their lead a little bit. So that's what I remember just recently. Good harp back on that. But look, I think more from a design, it's incredible inspiration that all these cities have, and living and breathing them. Nothing's better than living and breathing in a place to understand how they work, the pace of the city, getting under the skin of the city. When we lived in Los Angeles, I remember the first 6 weeks, 6 months, we were there every weekend, going out exploring and getting deeper and deeper. And so when I see people come to Dubai, new colleagues, it's great to see them going out and doing this. I remember when we were doing that. So
getting inspired.
Yeah. So, and now pulling it all back together globally, I think Dubai is such a great place to do a global role. You guys know, but time zones, you can wake up here and catch Asia, Middle East, Europe, and then you can follow all the way through without sweating it till 9 p.m. But like you can finish 6 p.m. and still catch New York, LA. And so finally sitting here and pulling all together, there's a great understanding where you can talk to all the team around the world. And now designers are really global designers. They have offices all around the world, especially since the pandemic. Is really understanding how they work and the cities they're in. So it's been tremendous value. I think it's a really good advice for anyone. Just travel, explore, and work in different cultures, cities, and environments to really get a breadth to build your base, and then work out. Who knows where you may end up tomorrow. We may in Mumbai or Riyadh. It's one of those things.
Is there any of these places that is closer to your heart? Because I know when I travel to East Asia, I always get so inspired, and when I come back, I'm like I'm fully fueled, and I know exactly what my vision and direction is. Is there any place like that around the world?
Yeah, look, I think Southeast Asia, and especially for my family, my wife grew up in Southeast Asia. It's always a bringing back a great centering of body and mind in Southeast Asia. But also, Los Angeles. We were in Los Angeles, and it's always one of those chapters I don't think that's closed. I always think, maybe we'll end up going back LA or Miami or something. And with Ennismore, we're so we'll talk about it a little bit more, but who knows? Those things are very dynamic. But Los Angeles was a great chapter, and I always say it was the best British summer's day every day. But in the UK you only get like 3 weeks of great weather, but in LA it was like every day, fantastic food. And a lot of the way our well-being right now for my family started there. We changed a lot of dietary things. We tried a lot of new trends and well-being things, and they stayed with us. So it's really nice to have caught them from the whole, where they started and maintain with us. So not just the business, the design, but all these things in your habits and behavior you pick up from all these different things, even from things in Shanghai, from London, you still do, but things there. And of course, I think that database of friends, business, colleague networks you have there. So, and people also move. So the people you met in Shanghai are now living in London.
Absolutely.
And the other way around.
So. Funny that you say that, because you also work with so many interesting people, right? From Philippe Starck, Richard Rogers. What did they leave you? Clearly, the countries left a lot in you. How about the people? What is it that you, got from them? Definitely, it's icons to work with.
Yeah, look, I think, and both very different, but let's start with Richard Rogers. And I think there was I remember they were, when they did Pompidou, which was this real first and iconic building that got them on the map. I remember, and he was saying that they were only 40 when people wouldn't take them seriously until they were old, had gray hair, and really could make it. And so
it's funny how everything changed now, right?
But back then it was a real thing of, wow, you really have to, the dedication was ultimate. I mean, you really put all your blood, sweat, and tears into it. The perseverance, dedication to keep going, keep knocking on doors, and then finally it would crack. And that was the old school of architecture and breaking through. Richard Rogers had this amazing warehouse. His wife had the Riverside Cafe, and it was all non-stop. I think that really opened up my mind of private life and professional life entwining, right? And there's no real disconnect, and that's okay, because there was, very, very happy people in the day, and it wasn't like they weren't discontent by it. So a real success there. On the contrary, with Starck, I think Philippe Starck went bust like 3 times, and then from then on, he never employed full time. It was always on freelance consultants. One thing when we still do today, and I think picking up these behavior things and routines, is no one was allowed to check their email in the morning until like 12 o'clock.
They were not allowed.
Yeah, and if you got and the idea was that was the creative time. So the studio would just all do amazing creative time in those burning hours in the morning. And if you emailed them at that time, you get a bounce back saying, the guys of creative will come back to you at 2 o'clock or something, which after a French lunch is like 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Something that wouldn't work here in UAE.
No, because you expect it to be on the whole time. And just going back to, taking a break, taking a holiday, what does that mean these days? Luxury is being offline, right? And turning off your phone and Wi-Fi mode. And just, that's a real nice to disconnect is really being offline. But anyway, this real spirit of we just need some focus time just to be creative and no distractions. And I think, without getting into productivity, be open your email and you know what's coming in. You're always on someone else's agenda, not your own agenda. Responding, reacting, and everything, your day gets flipped up. So I think that was a nice habit of back away and let's just focus on what we need to do for the first 3 things and get those done. Just head down and be creative. And I think once you've got those few things going, and then you can tap into it.
I think this is an amazing thing to implement for a design company.
It's so different. Working in Europe compared to here, it's 2 completely different worlds. And I was just thinking, maybe I should start not replying to emails until 12. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You're based in Dubai now, and you have a leading role in the design of Ennismore. An amazing position. How does it feel? Has there been any personal or professional changes that has come with taking up this role?
I think it's been, look, we're all extremely dedicated, and Ennismore, we sweat the details. There's a lot of passion from everyone throughout the company, no matter what role. Sometimes the attitude and the thing you put in doesn't matter if you're junior all the way up to CEO. We opened the Delano last year, and the Sunday before the opening, myself, the chief brand officer, we were there Sunday night moving sofas around. Everyone just gets involved. The hierarchy sort of disappears, which is great. I think the culture is incredible, and I think as Ennismore has evolved, we'll talk a little bit more about that. It's really about maintaining a lot of that culture from different companies they've picked up along the way. So we'll talk about acquisitions and how it's grown. Yeah. But look, for myself and the role, it's a team effort. We're an amazing collection of some sort of 30 designers around the world. As you know, we work with external designers. We have our in-house design team as well. And it really is that sort of blood, sweat, and tears of sweating the details and making sure we are, at the end of the day, enforcing this product. The product is what I say to the team every day is, you're only as good as your last opening.
100%.
It's not about rendering, showing us something amazing, 100%. Looking at design. It's we judge you on your last opening. So if you have an amazing one in Dubai, like I say to the team, you guys are golden until you're not, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so, don't mess it up. Let's just keep these going. But I think the other thing is that we've always learned is just because we open the doors and we never stop. We never stop designing. We're constantly tweaking, going back, looking what worked, what could have worked better, more opportunities, and making it better for the guests and everyone that experiences it. And I think it's always about that emotion. Is it about the brand? Is it about the design? It's about the service. Really, it's about how these spaces make you feel.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that question, actually. What sets Ennismore apart from everyone else? And you kind of answered that.
A little bit. So I think exactly is that we're always concerned about, at the end of the day, what makes it Delano? What makes it Hoxton at the end of the day? Even from the location, the building. But then it's the spirit of it. It's that feeling of, and when we opened Mondrian Ibiza, which is, quite an unusual location for something that started in Los Angeles on Sunset Boulevard, the press went there on their press view, and they were like, look, it's great. I don't know how you've done it, but I feel I'm in a Mondrian on the White Island. And in
you still can differentiate, and that's the brand that initially started.
For us, one of our biggest challenges is making sure all these brands stand apart. They have all these different voices. They have a different design attitude, different philosophy, and that people feel them. They don't all sort of blend together. And it's a nice challenge for us, but each one is a different project through the lens of the brand.
I'm just thinking, like, having a role as you have and have so many different locations around the world. What's the main challenges of having separate, places around the world and working with new developments?
I think is always understanding the nuances of that location. Like, we're picking up a new project, it's in a small place in Italy, or it's in, Paros or in Mumbai. So who's going to go there? We were asking ourselves, who's going to go to these amazing places when we've built it? And so we have to go there, go on the ground as a team and really have that cultural head on and try to talk to people, go to the cool places, have our feelers out, not work out where the city is now, but what's it going to be like in 3 years' time? So, for example, when we're even choosing a restaurant, what concept we're going to put in there?
That would work within this environment and that setting,
in the block, in the city, and I think it's not looking at just which restaurants are around now, it's which restaurants are coming, which hotels are coming.
Right.
So we need to find where we're going to sit within the city and who it's going to talk to, who's going to come there. And I think then we can really sort of build the programming around it. So that, for me, that phase 0 is what ignites me now, because I know we'll get the design down. We'll have the best creatives. We'll set them up. We do it in-house or externally. The brands are so strong and amazing brands. But for me, what my challenge now, I think, is really that phase 0 of setting these projects up for success. Because once you get that right, the next sort of 2 or 3 years, it works out and it makes it plain sailing, I would say. So, yeah, and back to your question about the role now and how it's changed, I think, I think it's just more having that macro view on projects, how they're commercially going to work, and design and work on all aspects. I think whereas a few years ago, it'd be more just like, how can we make this the best design, the best space, the best Mondrian? I think now it's just pulling out and have a bigger, wider view on it. So yeah, amazing locations, all these different cities. I think that's our biggest challenge of how they're all going to work to the portfolio of Mondrians around the world or SLS, and how that city's going to talk to. And I think, look, the brands, we have brand junkies, we have people that follow, just like they, follow other brands, but people have an SLS or a Mondrian, they want to travel and see different ones around the world. And so the brand also connects people with different locations. People might say, I never would have visited Mumbai before, but now there's more Ennismore stuff that I want to go and want to see something, which is great, and other locations. So that's nice as well.
You guys have the best of both worlds. So you design in-house. You have a in-house company called Aimer, right?
Yeah.
Is it the same for London and Dubai? And then you also outsource. So you hire. How do you differentiate, and how do you hire external consultants for some works and some projects? And how do you decide which projects will be done in-house and what needs to be done outsourced to external consultants?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So we have the AIM studio based in London, but soon to also set up in Southeast Asia. So they are doing a lot of originally we were designing all of our Hoxtons, 10, 50 plus more Hoxtons, and now we've expanded them
all
to
in-house.
All of them in-house. Now do more brands under Soho, under Hides, and some of the F&B as well. And then, of course, we have the luck to be working with some of the best external designers around the world. And there's a few that we have worked with 3 or 4 times on SLS, on the Mondrians. They've done 2 or 3 to create a new generation of Mondrians or a newer generation of SLS. People that were not necessarily designers that have a furniture background, you know,
Right.
or Tom Dixon came from an industrial design background. So I like these designers who come from a more quirky background. And I think also now what we're doing more is we're breaking out as specialist F&B designers and hotel designers. So if we bring a new project, we'll bring on 2 designers.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think for us that works best, and keeps specialist F&B needs specialist F&B
Yeah, it needs a
designers. You know,
twist.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that works really well. But we choose it, I think, based, there's an English phrase like horses for courses. You know, what works best for that brand, for that location. There's certain style, the aim would work on, and certain brands, and then others. So we've kind of got it down to a T, and of course, as they're expanding, we're giving them more brands. We'd like them to do more as well, which is
Right.
great. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Now, when you have F&B in-house as well, how do you merge the experience of the aesthetic and functionality when it comes to going into an hospitality and then having, you know, restaurants within the same space?
Yeah, and I think it's a good question when you're looking at a brand like Delano, which is all about white luxury and quiet luxury in terms
Yeah.
of design ethos.
Such a beautiful hotel, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have to go.
And this is Delano. And we're opening Miami the end of the year, London next year. So this is an incredible, exciting ultra luxury brand, very elevated. But you know, it has this
It's
quite
refined.
luxury, refined,
Yeah.
very white in style aesthetic, right? And that's not going to suit a restaurant, right? So how do we make that difference? So how we do it is the F&B have such strong personality, design DNA in themselves. And it's a nice kind of contrast. And I think you may have a Delano, which has a more refined design aesthetic, which is turbocharged by a very high energy F&B. And that can be a nice counterpoint, a nice kind of friction. And you go through a door. And I think it's like a nice sensory stimulation in a good way.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can Delano Dubai, this beautiful white lobby area, and you go through a door and you're into this super opulent, bougie kind of Maison Revka, very opulent.
What restaurants do we have there?
There's 5 or 6 restaurants there. And Maison Revka is the one right next to the lobby, and it's complete contrast in aesthetic. It's designed like an 18th century bourgeois family who have collected things from around the world. So there's mirrored stained glass windows. There's actually real birds flying around. There's complete planting, tassels, velvets, all the things. And you go through to the Delano lobby, which is all
a good
white,
contrast.
wooden floors, curvy, fluidity, and softness. And I think it's a complete contrast there. And I think, and then you go down to Rose Bar, which is super all red, velvets, mirrors. And so nice kind of contrast. And I think, guests want these dynamic changes. And of course, with us, F&B is very strong. And I think the nice thing is, just so happens that the best F&B in the city can be on your rooftop of your hotel or on the ground floor or something like this. And I think what's just the strength that Ennismore comes. You asked me about some of the strengths of Ennismore, is that F&B component.
Yeah.
When you look at other hotel operators, management groups, it's very hard to find another which has such a strong F&B component. And some of the best independent F&B operators, people in the business and brands, we've brought in under Ennismore, especially with their acquisition and merger of Paris Society and Ricas in Dubai recently.
I feel like in terms of design, we go through the waves, especially in Middle East, right? Sometimes we want everything like to be very sterile. We've been through that phase. But now I feel like we're going back to this feeling of, warmth, of a little bit extra, a little bit something more Instagrammable, layers. How do you make sure that in your design, in Ennismore, because you have so many different brands and so many different layers, we would say, that you create spaces that don't feel gimmicky, but feel layered and beautiful and refined. How do you achieve that?
But I think not everything has the layer now. Like, for example, 25 Hours, Hoxton and Mama, they have amazing layering, stories, accessories.
And very
going
fun.
Through. Yeah, and they're witty and a lot of things going through those art and accessories. And whereas Delano is much more, is an edited it's much more edited, pared back. And like I said, it has a confidence to be pared back. And I think, a lot of it we do through great art stories. I think, there's more artists than there are galleries in the world. So hotels can be amazing platforms for arts and changing art. And so for us, we're always looking for the artist as well behind it as not just the art. And how can we help tell their story and bring them into it?
Do you do it in-house, or you again hire external art consultants to curate all
we work with a few external consultants who, over the years, we've got inside each other's heads. They understand what we're looking for. It's much faster that way. And they're, again, bringing the artist to us before they bring the art. I found a local artist. She hand makes it in a warehouse here. Amazing. Let's go and look at that. And I think then with all the projects, that last 5% of layering, which really adds the soul, which really adds that lifestyle element, we do ourselves as well with them. We go out with some cash we've stored from the pre-opening budget to
and
go.
That's the last part.
Yeah, and to really bring these local bits to it. I remember we opened Mondrian in Mexico City. We went with a van to these vintage markets on a Sunday to feel and find some pieces for the restaurant, and to bring in a bit of warmth, a bit of local connection, and a little bit more soul to it. And I think, looking back from what I've learned, especially with Soho House, where I worked with Nick Jones, was when something opens, you don't want it to feel like it's brand new open, like a showroom, like a furniture showroom. It needs to have a bit of soul, stories to tell. So if the sofa is a bit crackled, it's got a bit of vintage leather or something or it's a console, an armoire that's got, it's got some history and into it. That's nice. It doesn't always feel so brand new. These places feel lived
used.
in. Exactly. And used. And that's what people want. And I think they do it so well. They do it so well.
No need for an extensive snagging. This is what we do wrong.
Which we are really good. We're snag experts.
I'm just shocked that you guys still have budget after the...
Exactly.
No, it's hard to find it. Yeah, you're right.
Ennismore as a company is one of the fastest growing within hospitality, I would say globally. It's interesting from my perspective, but I want to know more from your perspective. How do you guys build a portfolio, and what's the story? Like, how would it go around? And this is the vision of creating a portfolio for a company like yours.
Yeah.
How do you pick your brands?
Yeah, I think just to look back on Ennismore, I think one of the wonderful things about the culture of the company is I sometimes call it a 10-year-old startup. It acts agile and nimble and fast like a startup could, but it's not new. It's been around for 10, 15 The brands, Delano's 30 years old, Hoxton 10 years old. But the formation of the company, how it's grown and the acquisition, etc., has been a great story. But it still fights, and we still maintain that we can react fast, like I said, and that's why I joke about living in Mumbai next year or Riyadh or something, because that's how it works. If we will follow the pipeline, we'll follow the business, and that's really what the co-CEOs want to maintain, And I think when it grew from Mama Shelter, from Twibe, 25 Hours, building these brands, and then the acquisition of the Mondrian, SLS, it wasn't just about getting the brands, it was about buying the people behind it as well.
Right.
So, and then making sure the culture maintains. So we're part of Accor, there's a joint venture of Accor, everyone knows this. It was deliberately not to sit in the Accor office, but to make an Ennismore office so we could keep the culture and the lifestyle. And there's been stories, of course, of other roles where hotel groups, big hotel management groups have bought lifestyle brands, and they've been a bit diluted, or they've
Yeah,
lost some of their
they lost
culture.
it. Yeah.
And so some of the success was not just buying the brands, but buying the people behind it. I came through one of those acquisitions. I came through the acquisition of SBE in Los Angeles with 5 brands, and also key people that came with it. And so maintaining those cultures and allowing those cultures to keep growing and keep working was really a key. But like you said, we are still growing with brands. We had a merger with our Habitats recently, last year, which was
That's
announced.
a great success, I think.
Yeah,
I've been to one of those. I mentioned to you before that.
Yeah, great. And I'm glad you've been. And wonderful. This is luxury for the soul.
Yes.
So this is great service, building these amazing, kind of great connection to nature.
But also I think that the way they worked out the spaces, like when you do the sound healing in the cave, it's something magnificent. It's definitely one in a lifetime experience that the place gives. It's beautiful.
And I think you hear the word there, experience, right? We're looking at these experience economy, and people will pay for these one of a lifetime experiences. And so, but back to your question of choosing these brands, I think that's what it is. What are these offered? Habitats wasn't big. It was like 10 properties, they're small. It wasn't like going and buying a big chain of existing. It was a carefully curated, selected acquisition of something that just had great DNA, great soul. And we could do something we're good at development. We're good at keeping the product, and everyone's seen that. We're good at enhancing F&B. And so this was an opportunity for us to take a brand and keep all the great things that are good about it, develop it globally. And obviously we've already got new signings with it and developing it, but not losing it, keeping intact the magic and that secret sauce. And I think to our CEOs and our leadership, this is what's been the success, and making sure that's not lost.
How do you make sure that it's not lost? Like, how do you... I'm sure you guys got a pretty good team, but do you guys travel yourselves to these locations and sort of breathe in the ambience before you start a project, or how would it go around?
Yeah, before signing new projects. So look, development teams they're about signings, right? So they find a project, they see a numbers, and could be a good.
They throw you in.
Then we go and then see it. And so I think that's what we've always maintained is, great guys, you've got a good deal on the table, you've got a good MOU, but now we need to go in and culturally assess this, check this location, and our CEO will say, like, has Mark been, or has someone from the design team been, to see, is it really a Delano, is it really a Mondrian, and let's just check this out. And so we go to location and do some cultural study to work out who's going to come here, and also how's the brand going to work here, and is it the right location for the growth of that brand.
What would you look at?
We would look at people, I think, who's there. And like I said, the people beneath the skin of the city, who are a bit of the movers and shakers, and really who's representing, take a kind of cultural temperature of the city. And look what's happening in design, but also in art, film, photography, and cultural presence there. I think this is really important for us. Depends on the DNA of our brands. Some brands we have great growth scale for, and some we just want to do in selective locations. There's a good growth strategy for the different
because I'm
brands.
looking, like, if you compare Miami, for example, with Alula, it must be a very different approach that you would go in, and when you go to a location like that and say that
in terms of design,
and say that this is
and in terms of which brand would go there. I think so. It's look, a couple of things. Often a developer will come to us and say, I want this brand. And that's nice because it means the brands are so well recognized and people have an attraction to them, for them. Yeah. And we'll say, okay, we can give you that, we can't give you that, we can give you this, or let's have a look at what you've got. Is it a new build site or is it a renovation project? And we'll have to do a bit of a deep dive. We're getting, in Europe, you get a lot of renovation projects, beautiful old buildings. And so we need to do a little bit of a study. Can we reverse in one of our brands to this? So I think it's a little bit on, and then they were asset light company, right? So we work with owners. They own the buildings. They're paying for the construction. We bring in the amazing brand and the service to it. So it's a bit of working with our partners, what's going to work best for that location. And any growth development strategy we have as well for that brand. Certain cities we want to be in, something like Mondrian, which is very culture in the city. We want to be in key locations. Habitats can be in amazing locations, but Habitats maybe not going to go in New York, in Times Square or something, you know? So, and then something like the Maldives, of like we're doing some great projects in the Maldives. What do you bounce off? Because normally we're in cities or amazing landscape, you know, locations where we can bounce and
you can just research
naturally
and
get that instinct from. And I think you know, working, you said with Richard Rogers or Philippe Starck or Nick Jones, is that he would have this great thing where Nick Jones, we would walk around a building before any project started, any new club, and he would just get so inspired, so instinctive from what existed to be able to react to things in the city or the building that would then bounce the ideas, just walking in and sweating and pacing it out. So something like Maldives, you can't do that, right? So I think it's
there's no
really
ground for that.
Yeah, you're then digging back. I think what we've always done is when we've taken a new brand on, or it's come into the family, I think there's a little bit of us, what we call unpacking it and putting it back together. So we're like, dig beneath the bonnet, work out what this really brand, what makes this brand, what's it built of, put it a little bit into our structure, repackage it and build out all the tools that can help this brand then grow as part of the Ennismore pipeline and growth, like you said. So there's a little bit of formula of when a new brand comes along to make it work for us. Yeah.
You know, you guys, you have to evolve all the time, as you mentioned. And I think in one of your interviews, you were saying that you constantly have to, like, you get this baby and you keep growing with that baby for each project. What are the trends that you see currently coming up, emerging in hospitality market that you didn't see like 10 years back when you started? And I'm sure it's changing. And now with the media, with AI, everything is changing.
Yeah, no, a good question. I think you've got to stay relevant. You've got to stay future-proofed, and you've got to keep checking in of like...
How do you do that?
So I think, and one of the examples is of we'll go back to is wellness, obviously. In Hoxton, we never used to have gyms in a Hoxton. These were small products. We needed every room count. And now we're going back and put these phenomenal, amazing gyms. And, you know, there's a good transformation. Wellness and is a definite trend and industry move that we're picking up, not just in beyond the spa, beyond gyms, but how wellness goes even into the room. So running clubs, or in Delano, there's a gravity blanket. You have the most amazing night's sleep by just sleeping with this weighted blanket. You have a chair, you curl up with this gravity blanket, order a nice tea menu, have the most amazing nap. So making wellness not just integrated beyond the walls of a spa space, but always integrated throughout every journey and touch point, even to a wellness menu beyond in the restaurants. Wellness concierge that can arrange a running club in the morning and take you out through the city or through the park or through the resort. So I think we've understood that our guests, from luxury all the way down to premium, have a wellness routine. And they want to continue it when they're at where then they're staying with us. And so we give them all of the ways that they can then do that. And look, a lot of them measure luxury through personalization. So how do we personalize that for them from the arrival all the way through to how they can tailor their wellness? So not just making bigger gyms, but making more focused gyms and spas. And so in London, we have a small 150 square meters, and we're just doing three very focused things, which are going to nail it in terms of wellness for that area, that neighborhood, and what's happening in the city right now. So, you know, we work with consultants, we work with people tapped in the industry, we put feelers out, we talk to industry experts, and then do a bit of a kind of lay it all on the table and work out, okay, this is how we're going to program the wellness for this property. Another thing we're seeing is obviously, people want to work in the hotels. They want to work in these spaces.
So digital nomads is something like really emerging here, I feel like.
Yeah, and we were letting people work in our lobbies for 10 years, and now we're charging for it. It's great. We're making co-working lounges, spaces in the hotels, and people love it. They're paying for these memberships. When we opened 25 Hours, it transformed that. We started, and people were coming to Dubai. If you don't live in Dubai, it can be a very hectic city. It can be very exhausting. You move around. If you have a couple of meetings in the wrong location, the wrong time of day, you hit traffic. And now I know CEOs that could stay in the Four Seasons. They come and stay in 25, and they say, I love it here. I love the energy. I stay myself here all day, and people come to me. My meetings come to me at 25 Hours, and I go to the gym in the morning.
It's a great approach, I
have my lunch meetings. We work there. We have meeting spaces, and then we happen to go to Monkey Bar in the evening, which is a great bar in the city on the rooftop. So how amazing is that it became like an incubator in the city? And I always joke that 25 Hours is like the fourth public square of Dubai that it never knew it needed. Whereas it's two amazing courtyards, and you see people there working and meeting, and they have 3 or 4 meetings, and say, I'm here all day, and people
you don't
come
need
to me.
to leave the
So
space.
I think that working from these hotels became something that we've pushed more, and definitely expanding, exploring on wellness throughout, beyond the spa.
Talking about so many great assets that you guys have, who is your favorite baby? I know it's a difficult one because you love all of them, I'm sure. But which brand do you feel resonates with you the most?
It's like asking who your favorite child is.
Yes,
I think
it's exactly.
Look, I think in terms of opportunity and exciting turning point is the Delano brand for us.
You could tell.
It's great. It's coming across, but I think it's we're now doing membership. So people become members of Delano Miami, Delano London, and that can help them go and use the clubs. And it'd be another reason, why would I go and stay in Delano London? Why would I want to go and stay in Miami? Amazing F&B, beautiful rooms and design, but it needs more than that. And so having now an amazing club in the basement for members and guests is another aspect. So we're really fine-tuning and pushing and elevating the Delano brands. But look, all of them have a real good, like me, they all have a different personality. And for me, I'm lucky because I flip every day. I'm working on Delano today, Mondrian tomorrow in Bucharest, or Delano in Miami, and that's really exciting, or Soho in Bali. I think one thing we haven't talked about is brand new residential. I mean, if you'd ask me, we will be taking 25 Hours or a Mondrian into brand new residential. And so we're never going to do residential. We always want to stick to hotels. Of course, there's hotels in branded resi and mixed use. That's what we've always been doing that. But I'm talking about standalone Mondrian towers at 25 Hours standalone.
Is that something you're looking into right now?
So we started 2 or 3 years ago, and this is the thing, coming back to being like a 10-year-old startup. The industry wanted it, people asked for it, and we reacted, and we set up a brand new residential specialist team. We run it from Dubai, and now we've got like 50 projects for brand new residential. So, and taking about half of the brands into the residential space, we were like, okay, what does that mean for what is a 25 Hours in a place to live, as well as different from a hotel? So again, we're constantly innovating and evolving the brands. They don't stand still, constantly making sure they're relevant, future-proof, but also evolving them and pushing them. So residential was one of those, and it's been great. We have SLS in Madrid, SLS in Dubai, and buyers can sort of become a membership of that. So if I'm in Dubai and I want to pop in and use the residence clubhouse, I can become a kind of a buyer, a member of that kind of unit. And so this is a great new business sector we're going into, is the branded residential world, but back from hospitality, which is exciting.
It also creates like a segment of very loyal customers, right?
Community.
It creates a community. And I wanted to ask a question about this membership, right? Because we've spoke a few times about it already on this podcast. Do you think that it's feasible that you pay a price for a membership and what you get in return? Do you think this is something that is still relevant on the market? That you said we have like Delano is you're creating the social community hub. Or, this market is so fast-paced. People want change, constant change. Everything is changing, new restaurants, new hotels. How do you keep this loyalty?
Yeah. Look, I think it's a great question. I think there are a lot of members clubs that have failed. I think it's a really saturated sector right now. But there's still a few great ones that work. And I think the key is that programming. It's got to be constantly updated, cultural relevant programming, and that's why I'd want to become a member. If I know I can have and come to an amazing event that I wouldn't otherwise have access to. I think for me, the idea of becoming a member of somewhere is also meeting like-minded individuals that maybe not have access to and bringing us all together, because there's a fizzle, there's kind of spark of just having those conversations and coming up with an idea or having those chats. We have great stories of Mondrian in Los Angeles, where it was great filmmakers back in the days having these chats over scripts and creating ideas around the lobby and in the social spaces. A lot of we have a brand called Morgan's Original, and some of these lobbies they used to say the atmosphere was so electric you could cut it with a knife. And so creating these spaces with so much energy and atmosphere, for me, that's what I want to be a member of, is that kind of atmosphere, the people, but also those programming. So we are it's a huge investment. It's a commitment. We have, a director of it's not a director of membership. There's all that. That's the easy part, and collecting the fees. It's more about who's doing the director of culture and programming and keeping all that going. Yeah. Not just keeping up with the Joneses, but making sure you're offering something the others don't. So there's a few in the world that are still doing, and I think it's not for everyone. They're getting more expensive because we want to make them more exclusive. The members club where everyone's a member of is not really a point of becoming a member of. Okay, so it's like they're becoming a little bit pricey, a little bit more exclusive, minimum spend, and I think that's going to come back. I think that in the ultra luxury sector, I think that's going to come back to membership. Yeah.
I mean, the whole hospitality experience changed after the pandemic. No, I used to work as a hotel manager when I was younger, and we said this also so many times. But something that I feel is different from now and from where we are today is that the F&B concept has really become a part of a hospitality experience as well. Maybe back in the day it would be like, okay, the hotel has a restaurant, an in-house restaurant, and that would be, the guest goes to the restaurant and that's more, and then you would go and explore the city. I feel like we are going, actually it's interesting because I feel like we're going back a little bit to Le Corbusier's, mentality of having everything under one and the same place. He wanted to have a barber shop. Yeah. He wanted to have the school. He wanted to have all of these exercises within one and the same parameter. And it has become more of that feeling that you want to try to create a community rather than, just have a guest coming and when they're just visiting. Same thing with the co-working space, that you would have people that wants to come there and hang out there, but also feel that I have everything that I need here within one and the same roof, Where do you see that the development will go? Like, where are we going towards now? This is maybe now. In 5 years, where are we? 10 years, maybe 5 is not enough.
I like what you just said, and I think some of our whole smaller properties, I describe them with restaurants with rooms on top. And I think that you come into the lobby and people are like, where's the reception desk? And you just see an amazing, activated, really energetic restaurant that just happens to have a reception desk right in the back of the corner. That was the whole Hoxton model. And people really like that flip instead of coming in and with a drop off and the whole two people standing there with a white glove service. That really changed it. I think also in the pandemic, and I think why brand new residential is so successful now is, God forbid, but if it ever happened again, people wanted to know that there were services and restaurants and everything was in that sort of space where they would have to be or reside. And I think there's an amazing level of convenience that people like. Look, we're seeing a lot more of quarters, neighborhoods, small cultural districts that have everything contained within, not just a building, but even a block, not just one hotel, but a building or a block which has everything. And, look at new developments just here with Dubai Hills or something where there are great new green plot developments. Now everything's built into these walkable quarters with this that can work, right. Everything's there. I think there's a middle play. For me, the idea of never leaving somewhere, and people who travel and get inspiration from going different places. The idea of having everything is convenient, but there is a need to get out and explore and tap into other things. Look, but I do see a lot of our new developments are in amazing developments where we're a collection of 2 or 3 hotels, a few residential towers, and everything's within that. Like you said, and it's linked by a common basement or a common retail or one amazing pedestrian street. So all of these work together. And I think that phase 0 planning, which we talked about, is really important to make sure that's balanced and the whole thing has a vision. But look, we're also one of the amazing, thrilling things about working in this region. We're working on some crazy projects in creating new neighborhoods in mountains or in deserts and things like this. And so the challenge is there to creating new cities, and things that are happening around the region. We're really defining the way people are living and going to live. And there's some failures, and I think it's learning from those.
Definitely.
And I think it's nice you pull back on historical concepts and things do come around in circles a little bit. But as long as we learn and work it back into the next project and fix those things, traffic and balance and find the balance where everyone wants, I think that's the secret of success. And looking at different cultures and the way they want to live now and want to live in the future, I think here it's so fast forward thinking and getting more open-minded. So I think it's keeping one step ahead and making sure they work. But answer your question, I think it's making sure we learn from some of the failures, pulling them back into making great, diverse kind of buildings and projects that work.
In the end of each episode, we're asking a question from our previous guest. The question from the previous guest was, what legacy would you like to leave behind in both your business and your personal life? Which I think it's a very good question for you, because you're so all-rounded in so many things. You've got so many experience, business-wise, life-wise. What legacy would you like to leave?
Yeah, good question.
Very good question.
Yeah. Look, I think it ties back to what we do and how we think, but also how I think as well, is that, like I said, pulling back from that micro, macro, starting designing the bathroom to the project to the city. I think it's about how design is not just the four walls and the spaces and the furniture we sit on and look at and the art on the wall, but how it has a bigger impact on people's lives. I've loved people to feel that we and Ennismore and me in the years of my time at Ennismore is what we've created and what we've done in hospitality and beyond, how that's changed people, how it's changed the way they feel, the way they live and live in cities, the way they move around cities, how they interact, and then so many people we create these socially charged spaces and people are constantly meeting, engaging in our F&B, in our hotels. How amazing is that? We've created these sort of spaces that people just move in. So I think the legacy is there, that we've thought about design as a much bigger thing, a moving energy, back to the philosophical point of it, that really has an impact to move the needle and change the way people feel where they connect in the city. If you get it wrong,
Absolutely.
there's soulless spaces and people don't even talk to people. If you get it right, wow, two strangers in a lobby or in a bar in a restaurant could just happen to spark up a conversation, and
that's an amazing feeling. I'm putting myself as the user when I have that feeling when I go to a place and I'm like, this feels home. This feels like I just feel good here, you know?
Exactly.
And then we said, what was it? And people go, oh, it was design. No, it wasn't just the design. It wasn't just the music or the amazing or the food or the way they came up. And I felt like I knew
feeling.
them. It's a lot of bit of everything. And I think, like we say, it's a bit of a secret sauce of everything just humming together and working well together. And then you just create this spark. Like I said, this electricity. And instead of these white tablecloth stilted restaurants, really nice energy where people table hopping, you know, and people can talk to the people next, or a breakfast or a lobby where you just maybe something spontaneous happens, and I think that's where we talked about, you know, staff and teams and culture, and I think the people definitely in our business are more to think a little bit differently, to try to surprise and make guests a bit more spontaneous, relaxed, hyper personalized, but also not from the book, you know. And it's just that one day they may just put on like pedicures around the pool or give free coffee to people doing yoga on the beach, or a pop-out performance at breakfast. So it's a little bit more these spontaneous, because you know what that does? It creates these long-lasting memories and creates that community where people take all that away home with them as well. But people connect through these memories, and we may not talk on our hotel guests, but we'll certainly be bounded by the memories that we shared. So that's a really nice legacy to leave, I think. Yeah,
that's a very nice legacy.
It's a great answer.
That's a great reply. Yeah. Just have a good feeling.
Yeah,
that's an amazing. I can feel that.
What would be your question for our next guest?
Yeah. So look, I'm really focused on the new generation of designers, hospitality, and giving them some. You know, I'm constantly giving a few bits of advice and pushing, like I said, you know, you're only as good as your last opening, and you know, pick your battles. You know, we're all challenges every day, and guys, just, you know, let that go. Let that go. But let's fight for the things that are really going to be true to the brand, or we'll do, you know, cost and value engineering. We've got to balance things out. So I think my question is to your next guest is, I think, what's the one bit of advice they could give to the younger generation in their seat, or the next person coming up, lessons they've learned that they wish they had been told when they were their age?
That's amazing.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
We enjoyed it so much,
and I
can't just wait to go to one of your hotels. I'm going to Gigi in Rome next Monday.
Enjoy. Lucky. Great time.
It's going to be an amazing.
And good luck with your new ventures, guys.
Well, we're not far, so we'll make sure you're there. But thank you very much. I know it's enjoying, and it's great when people really experience it. I think it's walk the walk but talk the talk. I think you've got to come and really experience what we're doing. But thank you again for inviting.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.